Hey everyone, welcome to another interesting episode in The Closing Edge. My name is Stalin. I'm here to talk about 7 interesting tricks which works in real world situation in sales. So it's going to be a very interesting video. So I would request you to watch this video till the end. Yeah. And getting on to the video. We've all heard the usual sales tricks, right? Or sales talks. Usually they talk about confidence, assumptive closing, buying signals. But do they really work? Yes, they do really work, but not with all the customers. There are few selected customers who would close with this, techniques. But there are some customers who would not be, giving up so easily with these techniques. They are very tough nut to crack. Right? For such customers, you might have to go a different route, a new age route, to handle objections and make them understand the product value and close accordingly. So today, I'll challenge those old school methods and show you real sales techniques that actually close things. No fluff here, just practical tricks which you can use right now and close more deals. I'm not hyping it up. These are techniques which if you religiously follow, it will definitely help you close deals. And if you want more no bullshit sales advice like this, like and subscribe. And thank you so much. So let's go ahead with the video. Talking about the first topic, confidence. Being confident is very important in any situation when it comes to sales. The more confident you are, the more sound your presentation will be. But there is a thin line between being confident and being overconfident. So what doesn't work? So acting overconfident would create a very different image in front of the customer, and customer would feel, okay, this guy is trying to be very smart and he thinks I'm dumb. Customer would get this kind of an impression, and if customer gets that impression, he will not be listening to you anymore in your presentation. That's how it goes. And using vague, hyped sales talks will not work with all the customers. And this new age customers these days, they are themselves in sales, in any kind of sales field. Right? So sales is like a sub-department in all the departments these days. So there would be a sales VP, or there would be a sales director, or they are a sales team manager, or they would be in any position in which they would have this sales activity in day in and day out, right? So there is no point in doing this kind of a presentation to them. Instead, what works instead? Clearly explain them the value in simple words. I strongly believe in a formula called KISS formula. Keep it simple and stupid. So if you're able to explain something to a 12-year-old kid, and if your 12-year-old kid is able to understand what you're trying to explain, right? That's what the beauty is. So keep your presentation as simple and as clear as possible. So that will actually help you close more deals. So as I said, clearly explaining the value in simple words will help you, close more deals, and that will create a lot of interest amongst customers. Yeah. So for instance, an example, instead of saying this is the best product, right? Everybody will say their product is best, but saying the customer how it would solve their problem in 3 different steps, or breaking down it into some more, much more informative, it's gonna bring a lot of clarity while having a discussion, and customer will really love it. Yeah. Customers don't usually buy your confidence. Customers, they buy when they understand why it's right. So confidence is key, but clarity beats confidence in any time. So clarity is must, and it's very important in your sales presentations. Moving on to the second point, I've spoke about buying signals even in the previous video. So I've asked you to look for a buying signal, but in this video it's going to be a little different. So stop waiting for buying signals. What does not work? Waiting for customers to show interest before closing doesn't work most of the situation. So why do you wait for it? Why don't you create them? What works instead? Ask soft closure questions early on in the meeting stage, when you're done with your presentation, when you're in between your presentation, where you feel the customers interested and he's showing much more interest in your presentation. He's asking you right valid questions, he's got some doubts, and you see his eyebrows up. Yeah, that's when you will have to ask your soft closing questions. So ask him something like, so how do you see this fitting into your daily life? Then he'll start imagining owning it, which makes them more likely to buy it, right? So this is a most underrated technique, but this works in the real-time situation really well. Trust me, this really works. Yeah. And moving on to the third technique, the assumptive close. Assumptive close works, but again, not for all the customers. There are some section of customers which you would not be able to close the assumptive close way. You will have to try the reverse close technique instead. Right? What doesn't work in your assumptive close is asking the customer, would you like to go with a blue color or a black color, or would you like to go with this model or the other model? Right? That usually does not work when you're most of the time with different set of customers. What really works instead? Reverse close it. I've done it with a lot of customers, especially customers who are high profile and who carry a lot of attitude when they here for a presentation. Right? So I usually turn down some tables. I usually turn down some offers. Do not be really pushy on them. Do not really show them more options. I'll just keep the options very limited and make it more interesting for the customer. And I try to kick in the curiosity within the customer's interest, and I'll make the customer ask me more questions about the product. Right? And at times I would tell the customer, you might not be the right fit for this product. Subtly I would tell it in a very funnier way. Again, it depends on the customer, and most of the customers, let me say 80% of the customers, when I treat them this way, they always come back saying, you're very smart, right? They understand the language, they understand my language. So that's how it works. Put it across in a different way. Don't try to do the routine thing. So try to reverse close some of the customers, and that will help you close things. So you just watch how they react. If they really want it, they'll start convincing themselves, and they'll convince you to take the product from them. Yeah. So that's a very interesting thing in sales, in the process of sales, and I really love being part of that process. So I'm sure even you would enjoy when you start doing it. Objections, fourth point. Make them explain. Right? So what does not work again here, I'll tell you. Arguing with the objections, telling the customer, no, you're not right, sir. This is how it is. Whenever you're trying to stop a customer during an argument, or you're trying to argue with the customer saying, no, this is not right. No, what you're saying is not right. Whenever you're trying to do this in an argument, right? So customer will stop listening to you, and he'll lose interest in the presentation. Right? So it is very important for you to remember that you will never argue with the customer while having a presentation. Instead, you will have a different set of explanation given to the customer, which I'll be telling them here. And say mostly in case of customers asking about pricing, and he is very skeptical about the price what is being quoted, and saying no, this price is ridiculous, I'm not going to go ahead. And if your competition is giving me a very less charge for this product, or if your competition is giving me a very competitive price, and why I should go. They offer me the same service, and why should I go with you? What usually salespeople do is that they tend to shell out the margin what they have. All salespeople will definitely have a small margin to play around with the customer, right? So if you shell around that margin, what happens is when you're lowering the price immediately when the customer is throwing objection, you're setting a wrong expectation to the customer that okay, if I talk more, he's going to reduce my price. That's not how it works, right? So what works instead? Ask for clarity. Ask the customer to speak up. So let's follow a 20-80 rule here or 80-20 rule here. May the customer be the person who will converse 80% of the conversation, you stick to 20%. So when you say it's too expensive, you mean over your budget or you don't see the value there? This is a magical question. If you ask this question, now they'll have to explain their hesitation. Why they were hesitant, they'll have to start explaining it and you can address it accordingly. Right? So any hesitation customer would have, once you tell them this is what the situation is, customer will have no other option than understanding and taking it further with you. Right? So this is another technique which would help you handle any kind of objections which come by your way. That's very important too. The fifth point is reciprocity. So use the I owe you trick. This will definitely work during your closure stage. Like when you're almost 80% towards your closure stage, you can use this at that point of time and this will smoothen your process of closing. So what doesn't work? Giving freebies hoping they'll buy or giving them trial back. Not everybody would be really interested in it, right? Some would take the freebies and they don't turn up. They'll not turn up. They'll just take what freebies you give or use the trial period what you give them, and they don't usually turn up. So instead, what works I do a small favor first, then say, hey, do me a favor. This makes sense for you. Let's make it happen today. Now they feel like they owe you. So that favor can be anything whatever you're doing. A very small favor. See, in my opinion, if you ask me how I did this favor when I used to be in real estate sales, I never used to badmouth my competitors, never ever badmouth my competition, but I used to provide them a factual data, right, about how the customer experiences with the projects around, right, and how are we standing. I used to simply show them the data of reviews posted online by their customers who have bought the product, and I'll show the customers about my product and how the reviews are there for my product. I'll just do a small comparison on that, and the customer will understand, see, this is very factual. I'm not trying to blindfold you. I'm showing the facts and you can see your facts yourself, and this is how you would research before buying the property. I made this point very clear to the customer, and the customers would really appreciate the fact that I was very transparent there, and I did a favor to them there. I showed them how to look out for projects, and I also helped them understand how they'll have to curate properties. So this is something which I've gone beyond and given them as an idea. So this is creating more trust, right? Because they would have never seen any other salesperson doing it. They would have always seen salespeople bad-mouthing the other company and trying to push their sale and try to close the deal accordingly. But doing this would actually set you apart from the other sales guys. So this will help you, right? So now they feel like they owe you one. So they definitely owe you one, and then you will go ahead and close the deal. So that's one. So point number 6 is that yes said. I told in the last video also about making the customer say yes. This is very important. Try to get some small yeses, at least 8 small yeses before you ask a big question about closure. So instead, start using these selective no trick. Selective no trick. What doesn't work here? Forcing customer to say yes multiple times when it does not work with few set of customers. there are some negative set of customers, right? No matter how good your presentation is, they're still not going to like you. They're still not going to like your project. They will have 1,000 negative things to talk about your project, right? Or your product, or anything for that matter. Your service, or anything for that matter. With these customers, what usually works is ask a question that makes them say no first. For instance, would you want to pay double for this later? What would be the customer's question? You say no. Exactly. That's why locking in today's price makes more sense. Now this would be your answer. Now their no actually helps you close the deal. So this kind of no's are also very helpful in order for you to close your deal, right? And point number 7. So stop listing features. Use the flip and fix method. What doesn't work here? Saying the customer, hey sir, you know what? This phone has a 5000 mAh battery. That's a very boring thing. Instead, what works? Turn the feature into a solution. Tired of your phone dying midday, sir? This battery lasts all day. No more charging and things. Tell this in a very beautiful way, in a very simple way. This will help you close more deals. So yeah, I think we have closed almost 7 techniques which I was talking about. So forget those old school psychology tricks. Use the real battle tested techniques instead. So which one was your favorite? Drop a comment below and like if you found this helpful. Subscribe for real world sales tips. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out. See you in the next video. Go close those deals. Thank you. See you.